TPS is more than time and billing. It really is a practice management solution too. But what is practice management? It can mean so many things to so many different people. Time and billing, of course, make up a large part of practice management, as we have over 300 standard reports that can provide information on employee productivity, firm billing realization, profitability on work, employees, clients, and partners. It can also show your top 10 clients' billing or average collection period in a graph format on the dashboard. But time and billing is covered on our overview video. This video will focus on the operational side of practice management. Probably the easiest way to define it is to use an example. Our client base is primarily small to mid-sized practitioners, so let's use an easy example most people can relate to: a small Canadian numbered company. Let's say that the company has an August 31st year end. So the accountant has to remember a number of things during the year that he needs to do that involves tasks assigned to him and several of the staff members. Trying to manage all of that sometimes gets very difficult. People have been creative in the past and they've used Excel spreadsheets or the Outlook calendar or pieces of paper or notes in a file or sheets that follow the file around. In TPS, we have a very simple method. We call it due dates, but there are many other pieces of TPS that tie into the due dates and make that practice management even more effective. So let's go back to the example of the August 31st year-end company. In Canada, an August 31st corporation needs to file a return within 6 months. So that's the end of February. If taxes are owed, then the payment is due within 3 months, which would be November 30th. But we'll presume this client will have no taxes due. So that means to the accountant that sometime in August, he has to notify the client that their year end is approaching and remind them of all the documents that are needed, like receipts, invoices, all the payments, as well as the bank statements and the date when that should be delivered. Then sometime in December, he sends out another reminder to find out what should be done with the draws, if they will be taken as salary or dividends. So before the calendar year end for the personal tax, he would have an idea where everything is going. In November, the filing should get done if there are taxes owing. If not, it can be pushed out to February. February, the T4 should be created and sent out. So, how would he manage that in TPS? If you go to the client side of things, it all starts in the client's properties due dates tab. Here, you will store all the tasks that you are typically doing on a recurring basis for each individual client. For example, the numbered company might have 4 tasks or 4 due dates. Contact the client regarding the document, discuss the draws, do the final year-end return, do the T4s. Some clients could have 1 or 2 due dates, or others could have as many as a dozen, because you might do all of the monthly payroll, their corporate tax return, plus all federal and provincial taxes. So all your clients could have a different amount of due dates or to-dos, and they all might be done in different dates. All of those client entries in the client due dates ultimately populate the due dates calendar, which is similar to a big spreadsheet for the entire office to share. If you go to the due date calendar, it shows by default all of your clients' due dates that fall within the current month. That's just the default. You can always change the date range to see entries coming due in future months. Client ID, client name, engagement, work code, due date, hours, and description fields are populated from what's stored in the client properties. The rest of the fields will be all the information that your staff should be inputting. First step will be receiving the documents from the client. Employees can record the date when the paperwork is received from the client. This may help in getting those clients' work out first that brought it in first. Nothing can happen until we have the documents. Second step will be checking if they brought all the documents needed. There's a field called Waiting For. If there is something missing, employees can type the notes, but if everything was received, they could type all received. That way, when you talk to the client, you have access to everything that's going on. For example, hey, we're waiting for your bank statements. Third step may include following up on incomplete due dates. TPS offers a client log feature which supplements the due dates. In this instance, we know the client was missing some bank statements. But did anyone phone, fax, or email the client to bring in the missing statements? Is there a follow-up date to remind the client a second time if necessary? Client log provides a place to make sure action by an employee is taken, and it will not slip through the cracks as a completed date needs to be entered for the alert not to pop up anymore. We'll discuss client log in a bit more detail shortly. When the client brings in the rest of the documents, you can update the waiting for field and type something like nothing pending, and then assign the due date to the employee responsible for the next step of the process. That way, when the next employee comes into the due date calendar, they could filter the screen by employee and also filter it for incomplete. By doing this, they will only see the outstanding to-dos or due dates assigned to them. Once they finish their part of the work, they can reassign it to the next employee and change the status to in progress or review, whichever note you want to add. That way, when the next person sees it, they know what they need to do on their end. If at any time you need to email a client, simply click on the yellow email icon and add a subject line. TPS will log your email in the client log. You can see how that same due date can be reassigned to 2, 3, 4, or 5 employees in the firm as it wends its way through the process towards completion. When the due date is completed, the last person who does the review or does the assembly and hands it to the client will mark that record as completed and then change the status one last time. For the US clients, we have 2 other columns for extension filed and extension due. Typically, Canadian clients will just close those columns up and never look at them again. However, they could be used if you want to assign a simple 3-month deadline for corporate taxes. And if no tax is owing, extend it out to the 6-month final due date. The extension filed field is for you to note the date the accountant notifies the IRS that you will not be filing on time. So again, most Canadian firms would not have use for this field. The extension due field is a self-reporting field. You'll need to fill in the new due date for this record. That is a simplified explanation of how the due dates work, so everybody in the firm can see what's outstanding. Now, of course, there are a lot of other things that are going on. There are often multiple steps in the process of completing a due date. Client log can be used to ensure that nothing slips through the cracks or off an employee's radar. For instance, if you need to let an employee know that there is a task within a due date that needs to be taken care of, then you could select the due date, right-click, and choose Client Log. Client Log allows you to add a notation or event, phone, email, type in a description, call client about the documents, assign it to the employee, and put a follow-up date. When the employee next logs into the program, whichever client log events that are assigned to him but not yet completed will show up as an alert. For instance, if you close the program and reopen it, the employee gets the alert of what is outstanding and it allows you to view the events. The due date is already in the calendar, but the employee would physically have to go to the calendar to see what is coming due. By entering an event in the client log, the employee is prompted at login by a reminder of what needs to get done. TPS can also make it easier to send notices for the August 31st year-end. On the Client's Properties General tab, you will find the year-end for the client. Probably, if you want to maximize the usage, you could set a category for all the tasks you do for the client. For example, T1, T2, T3, T4, or whatever you need, and assign it to the client. That way, you can find all your clients you filed T2 returns for that also have an August 31st year end. To send the letter, we go to Tools, Mass Mailing, or Email Mass Mailing. We use Microsoft Word for all our templates, so you could create your template or letter that outlines what you want to tell a T2 client of what they are supposed to bring in. You will have the option to filter the screen by categories, in this case T2 and year-end August 31st. Then you are able to choose which template you want to use and click Generate, then Print or Send. If you choose to email the letter, TPS allows you to send the letter as a PDF attachment versus a Microsoft Word document. Once you send the letter, you could go to the client log and add the note saying that you sent the letter on today's date. That way, when you receive the documents, you can mark it as completed on the client log and add the notes to the due date. The 4 elements in TPS that will help you keep your practice managed efficiently are: Number 1, client properties, year-end field, and categories. Setting these up will allow you to filter your clients for generating lists, letters, and setting up due dates efficiently. Number 2, due dates. This allows you to track all things you need to do for the clients on a recurring basis, monthly, quarterly, and annually, or in different times of the year. Number 3, the client log. This allows you to assign steps within a due date to specific employees and have TPS remind them of these each time they log in. Number 4, mass mailing. Have TPS create your various letters and populate with the client's names and addresses. Print them or send them by email. The really nice part of the due dates is that the record actually moves along with your firm just as a regular piece of paper. When it comes in, front desk changes it to received, who it is assigned to, and of course, the status. And then the assigned employees just change it to the next person that should be doing the work until it's done and marked as complete. TPS also rolls the due dates into the next year, so you only have to create that item or due date in the client one time. The client log is easily accessible from multiple places in the program: the client list, time entry, billing, payments, and due date section. Just right-click on the client, choose Client Log, and you can see what is outstanding or what the other employees are waiting for. TPS is so much more than just a time and billing software. We provide practice management tools that help you run as efficiently as possible. Be sure to check out the other videos that help you understand how simple, yet powerful, TPS can be in helping you manage your practice.